Hi, this is Dave. I thought I'd make what I hoped would be a short video about an experiment that I wanted to do, and in a way that I thought of that I might share some more about myself, especially during December, because it's all about operating systems experiences and when you had them. In the background, I have the December logo in glorious two-color 640 by 200 CGA. That's the latest I got working on my December project. But the idea is to share your OS timeline. What I noticed is when I'm meeting new people on YouTube in the retro community, I have no idea what they're into, what they were into when, what their background is, and I regret that I'm sometimes probably mansplaining to them about things they already know about, or I'm trying to identify people that have completely complementary knowledge because they might know something that I don't, and others that have exactly the same knowledge and we're on the same page. So for instance, I was working with Mark at RetroTech about just how to put together some videos or how to work with these images, and he happens to work on Windows. I happen to work on Mac, so we weren't able to use the same tools. But I was interested to know, for instance, what his background was. Some of the other folks like RetroTech Chris, really strong PC background and knows a ton of stuff that I don't, and I'm learning a bunch of things from him. Same thing with Caffeinated Tech, Adam there. You know, a bunch of people that I've been talking with and enjoying. So the experiment is to create and share your OS timeline. Here's mine, and let's zoom in on that and show you what I mean. So here's my OS timeline. So this is just a two-dimensional plot showing the years horizontally, from, in my case, from 1980 to 2020. And then vertically, the operating systems that I have used somewhat extensively. So for instance, you can see right away that I started with the Atari 8-bit, and that was in 1982-ish. And if we wanted, for instance, for December to consider my MS-DOS experience, I only have MS-DOS experience from back in, you know, like 1988 and 89, and then a little bit in the early 90s. And then we jump all the way over to where I'm doing the December project. So that's a simple form of it. Of course, there's other details you could put here. For instance, I summarized Unix, which I have extensive experience with as a expert Unix systems programmer. I was a system administrator for many years. I put an asterisk there because it's nice to sum those up because there are so many variants. But what if I wanted to give you more detail? So here's a more extensive OS timeline for myself where I've added indented lines that show, for instance, under Mac OS that this was the era when I was using OS 10. Or for instance, we were talking about Unix. All of these different variants of Unix I've used, and so I marked them as equal or equivalent, but all in different periods of time. So I can put quite a bit of detail in there, and it goes from, you know, stuff I used, for instance, when I was in college, to things I used heavily in my work, and then what I use today in my work, for instance, here. So that's an extensive version of the OS timeline. So it's just in a file called os.txt, and you know, that's the one that I can, you know, search in. Maybe I only want to see the lines that have the equal signs in. You know, I could do that. So anyway, that's the simple idea, and I'm sharing mine here. I'll put it in, you know, either I'll put it in the description for the video, or I'll put it in my channel description. So that's the idea of the OS timeline, and as I said, and it's an experiment. Experiment is probably my favorite word. I'm a research scientist, and anything that anybody does or doesn't want to do, you call it an experiment, and whether, you know, regardless of the results, the experiment can be successful. So anyway, I invite you to share your own OS timeline if you're interested to do that, maybe even just to reminisce about what it is. Perfect thing to do during December because there's a lot of conversations both in the comments and on the YouTube videos for December about, you know, when did you have this experience? Why do you think of it this way? Do you like DOS? Do you not like it? For instance, I just watched Jan Beta's video, and his experience was using the bridge board on the Amiga back at the exact same time I was, and ran into a bunch of the same problems because it sounded like he took the same 30-year gap in his work with it, or almost 30-year gap, to get back into it. So give it a try. Of course, you could do it with programming languages. It could be a pl.txt instead of an os.txt. I'm going to show an example here where just put it in a file called os.txt. If you say cat os.txt and paste it in, we know that that's what it is. So anyway, I hope you're enjoying December. I'll be back with my project again, but this was just a little aside. Take care.